This is Mile High.
We have to do it better in order to move people along.
Up, down, inside out.
If you get your mind right,
it is not. It is a receiver of thought.
because love is my first technique.
It's now time for the show.
Welcome to the Mile High Podcast. This is your host, Dr. Daniel Knowles. Thank you for listening to our episodes. If you are enjoying our episodes, I highly encourage you to subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher or YouTube or wherever you may be hearing this around the world. And certainly clear your calendar if you have not already to be sure to attend Mile High August 16th to 19th. We look forward to seeing you there. And I'm very enthusiastic about our episode that we're recording today. This is the first one I'm doing of 2018, and it's a great start. We have Jonny Coller, Dr. Jonny Coller here from Barcelona, and he has an incredible program that he's doing that we're going to be talking about. Welcome to the Mile High Podcast, Jonny Coller.
Hi, thank you very much for having me. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. I'm glad to have you here. We're going to be talking about the philosophy of chiropractic, digging deep on that and why it's important to be a rock star in that area as it's a basis for your practice. Tell us a little bit about your chiropractic background to start.
Wow. First of all, thank you very much for having me. Honestly, it means a lot, so thank you very much for that. But I suppose my chiropractic story is similar to a lot of people. I ended up in chiropractic college from a bit of a weird story. I played a bit of rugby professionally and then decided to get a real job, I suppose. And I went to study. Unfortunately, I studied in a school that probably wasn't particularly chiropractically minded. And almost halfway through then, I almost dropped out. I got really close to dropping out because I wasn't really clear on why I was there and really what the whole point of chiropractic was from the perspective that I was being taught. We kind of were being trained, from my opinion, to be a physio. And I couldn't really understand why I would be giving the extra time, the extra money, and I got offered, luckily, a great job to do with rugby and almost gave that a go, and luckily had some conversations with some really incredible chiropractors and some chiropractic students who kind of flicked me on to the chiropractic philosophy and the why of chiropractic, and that kind of clicked with me and made sense. And then from there I kind of took some different jobs and a different route, and then ended up here in Barcelona doing what we're doing now.
Awesome. So where'd you go to school and how long have you been in practice?
So I graduated about 5 years ago from ACC, which is in Bournemouth, United Kingdom. And so yeah, about 5 years now, and currently just doing my philosophy project along with a very good friend and doing some locum as well, which is great.
And so let's dig right into this topic. All right.
Boom. There it is, the book.
All right, and your favorite quote you told me was, "Who can anchor to an unanchored mind?" And this is the chiropractic anchor right here. Tell us. Let's just start off with the Daily Greens program. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I mean, we've sort of started our whole The Chiropractic Why program, which is really focused towards people who maybe not have been exposed to the chiropractic philosophy hugely, or people who probably maybe not studied it for a while, just a great way to get back into it. And one of the things that we're really pushing, particularly in January, is starting the year in the best way possible by having your daily greens. So really encouraging people to get back to the foundation of chiropractic, which is its philosophy, and reading that every day to sort of give your brain some nutrition, give you some sort of substance, some motivation behind going out and changing people's lives in daily practice.
Well, I always think that that chiropractors kind of have, there's a chiropractic soul. There's people that have like this heart and soul of chiropractic, and without doing that, you don't feed that chiropractic soul, and that can kind of dwindle out a little bit and not have the spark that it needs to be if you don't, feed it.
Definitely. I mean, I'm always shocked whenever I read some of the green books. You read these different letters that they were sending back and forth to each other, clarifying little things, and you can really see that these guys particularly early on, were obsessed with chiropractic. Everything within their life was chiropractic. They were huge in getting down to the nitty-gritty of the chiropractic philosophy and technique and art and other stuff, but really growing in every aspect. And that's certainly something that we want to encourage again with our program, to get people back into this mindset. We've really got to be obsessed about chiropractic, and chiropractic really, I'm huge on chiropractic, should be something that you are. It's not something you do. We shouldn't just turn up 9 till 5, clock in and out of our practice. We need to become obsessed by it so that it becomes everything that we are about, and we really understand it. And I certainly think that when we can comprehend and understand and really feel the depth of the philosophy that our beautiful profession has, that inspires us on to do bigger, greater things and really push the boundaries of what's possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And I got to tell you an interesting story about that. And then I want to talk about what you've been reading your first few days of the program. So in my practice, I had someone who came to our door, old guy, came to our door to ask us about getting face paper from him, right? To purchases. And he comes in and he's like, rather than ordering face paper, why don't you get it from someone local who will hand deliver it to you? I'm like, who does that? That sounds fine to me. I love it. And so I start talking to this guy, and he'd been a chiropractic supply distributor for something like 50 plus years, all right, wow, in Colorado. And so I just had this great conversation. He's like, I seen BJ speak out here. I was at the Spears Clinic. I was a supply, like all this stuff. And I asked him a question. It goes right into what we're going to talk about. I asked him a question. I said, can you tell me, since you were at all these programs, what was the biggest difference between chiropractors back then and now? And he responded like so quickly. He said, chiropractors, when you were at programs back then, the conversations they had would be about subluxation, adjusting, and innate intelligence. Now, when you're at a program, the conversations are about money, how many new people.
Yeah, I mean, we've certainly not everyone. There's some people out there that are absolutely killing it on fire, but I do feel that we've kind of lost this idea of developing what we already have. I mean, there's no reason why any facet of chiropractic cannot improve, and the philosophy is no different than that. Our communication of it, our understanding, and certainly the ways that we can communicate that and put across this message to the world and to our practice members, we can definitely adapt that and up the ante on it.
Yeah, absolutely. So how many days in are you, and what are you reading?
Well, great question. So today is the 10th. So I have been, I've been supplementing what I normally read. I normally try and delve in about 10-15 minutes every morning over a coffee into Stevenson's. And no matter how many times I get through that book, it gives me something else. This morning I was reading over a little bit on mental impulse, and Stevenson's chatting about how when the mental impulse gets adapted and changed because of subluxation, how that affects the tissue cell itself and the complete cycle. And then I had a little bit more of a read of actually Fame and Fortune. One of my favorite green books. I just think it's super easy to drop in and out of, and BJ really dropped some pretty good truth bombs. I'm a big fan of the little story that he goes into, the little analogy here of Mr. Educated and Mrs. Innate Intelligence. And I love the way that sort of makes these greater concepts a little bit easier to comprehend, and it's fun. It's fun.
Well, and I got one right here. So this is in-depth. So dis-ease, right, which is what we do, is due to a vertebral subluxation, which occludes an opening, impinges nerve channels, and offers interference to the transmission of mental impulses between brain and body, right? So we got that right up there, all right, underlined, right? So that's the essence of chiropractic, yet how many chiropractors do you think learn that in chiropractic school?
I mean, I don't really know a huge amount about how everything happens in the States, but recently I went to a big student conference here in Europe, and I asked people to raise their hands if they could, or if they had studied chiropractic philosophy at school. There was a couple of hands. And we sort of went up some questions and ended up with who could explain the normal complete cycle. And we had, I think, one hand, which was scary to me.
Yeah.
And I think as some schools, particularly here in Europe, have changed and they're really trying to push this more medicalized system, we've lost the essence of the chiropractic why. Why are we different? Why is what we do hugely important to evolution within human society? And we've kind of lost this place of where we fit within things. I had a great meal the other day with a general practitioner, a GP over here, and he had actually been chatting about some conversations that he'd had with some chiropractors. And he was like, I don't understand it. What do you guys do? So I kind of explained from my perspective. And he was like, yeah, that makes complete sense. So why is this person chatting to me about headaches and back pain? I was lost. And it was a great, loads of people have said it, but he's kind of said it in a throwaway comment of, it works best when I stay in my lane and you guys stay in your lane. And I think that's huge. We can't stay in our lane until we really understand what it is that we provide, why it's different, and why it's hugely important for people out there to hear about it.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk nuts and bolts here. Philosophy of chiropractic, there's that voice that you'll hear within the profession of, well, I get the philosophy, or who needs the philosophy? How's that going to be real or practical in my life? So why is philosophy important or central to a successful practice?
Yeah, it's something we get all the time. There are loads of different ways to answer that, but I think the main thing is the philosophy drives everything we do. It's a simple fact. If you remove that we don't really have a major difference. To say that we own an adjustment, you could possibly argue that, but I know without the philosophy, everything that we stand for, that we work for, that changes people, is based in that, and that's hugely important. What your question really touches on is that practical application of it. Now, when you look at philosophy as that lens that you look through the world, that's no different to any day for any chiropractor in practice. We have a strong grip of the chiropractic philosophy. We can make those decisions in the best way possible and make the biggest impact in our communities. I hear it so many times, I've got the big idea, and I'm like, wow, that's huge, because I try and study this every day and read more and listen to anyone chatting about it, and I don't think I've got it yet. I'm hoping, I'm looking forward to that year in 10 years' time when I listen back to this and go, wow, I said some stupid stuff. It's something that still inspires me, because when you look at the evolution of the ideas that we have in chiropractic, and someone like Simon Sensen, who really breaks that down for an easy way for us to understand, we see that these ideas have evolved, and it's exciting, and I don't think that stops now. I think that we need to keep pushing these forward. Our understanding of those great principles, our understanding of how to communicate them, and more importantly, how does that practically apply? How does that make a difference when you're making a decision on practice member care, on what you're doing in your advertising, on how you send yourself out there to the world?
Right, absolutely. And it's interesting. I've got some green books behind me. I have this thought, who's the most jailed chiropractor in history?
I'll give you the joy in answering that.
Reeves, right? Herbert Ross Reeves. He's the most jailed chiropractor in history, right? And you think about the people that did that. Did they go to jail because they had a new way to cure back pain that was better than other ways to cure back pain? Do you think that's why they did that? They had a new way to help headaches that was better than other ways to do it. Was that all that it was? I don't think I'd go to jail for something like that at all. You've got to see they had a bigger idea by far than that. And I mentioned Herbert Ross Reeves because my dad actually, by chance, by happenstance, or maybe it wasn't by happenstance, everything's organized, right? he purchased Herbert Ross Reeves' Green Book collection after he passed away. He just found them for sale. He gives me every Christmas like one book.
What? That's kind of amazing, yet annoying.
Every Christmas I get one, so from the collection. But like a lot of them are signed and stuff. But it's central. All right. So in that 10 days, is there and that you've had so far? One, anything in particular that you learned you want to share with someone? You want to share with the audience?
Wow, that's huge. I'm trying to think, what have I gone? I kind of already what you've kind of touched on there actually. When you this idea of the obsession and the bigger thing. When you read the communication, when they're sending back each other these letters, you kind of get a feeling that early on these guys had their backs to the wall. You know, it wasn't an easy time to practice. They really had a tough time in communicating this great new idea that they'd kind of stumbled across and had learned and studied. And I love this sort of the idea that when push comes to shove, when your back's against the wall, what do you fall upon? And these guys, what they fell upon was their deep understanding, their knowledge of these huge concepts that we can break down into smaller ideas, the normal complete cycle, the safety pin cycle, but yet their detail in the small things, and that's huge. And I think, personally, from my opinion, I come from a big sporting background, and one of the things that we would chat about weekly is the detail in the small things and how important that was. And these guys had that concept so ingrained in them. They were so specific in the way that they used it. I was kind of reading a bit this morning, and I often feel myself slipping, and it's kind of a bit of a tip to the hat to a great man, Andy Roberts, and he would always be on my case if I said an A. You know, as its last name was his famous words, and that's so huge because these guys were so specific on everything that they said, and so detailed, and that's certainly something that I'm sort of trying to strive towards and move in the direction of. But I think while you can pick out individual learning points, really this greater idea of continual development, continual commitment, the learning that is in with these amazing books that were published, you know, a long time ago, but yet whenever you pick them up, well, I don't know about yourself, but I haven't picked up a green book yet and spent some time in it and not come away feeling something, learning something, being more motivated. Yeah,
you feel, honestly, every time I do, and even if it's not a green book, because there are some books that are chiropractic that are not green that are awesome, like Simon Senzon's, the ones he's been putting out, I've been calling them the white books, right? You know, like some of the, like, you read some of them and you're like, oh my God, it like speaks to your heart of why you became a chiropractor, without a doubt. So now if someone hasn't done this, so someone's watching this and maybe they've never picked up a green book, all right? Maybe they're a chiropractic student, maybe they're a chiropractor somewhere. What do you tell them to do? What would be the easy way to get started? Where would they begin?
Well, this is exactly why we started this challenge. I remember when I was in my third year, maybe fourth year, I asked someone and said, look, I want to start getting into this. Where do I start? And they actually pointed me in the way of this behemoth of a book. But I mean, probably not the greatest place for me to start. And I remember every day cracking it open and really struggling. Great book and some amazing stories and insight there. But I think make it easy, make it bite-sized, make it very achievable. So that was the reason why we actually just did a Facebook video today on fame and fortune. I think it's a great book for somewhere to start. You know, some of these green books, and I mean this in the nicest way, so I hope some people out there don't get offended, they jump back and forward a bit, and sometimes you've read one chapter and you start the next, like, what on earth is going on here? You know, they might not be the easiest to follow, and I think this will be a great place for anyone to start. Super easy, not too intimidating. When you pick it up, you're not getting scared that you're going to turn grey before you finish it. And it's not too far off a lot of sort of self-help and motivational books that people like to read now. I mean, a great book. If we're looking further afield from green books, like you've said, Simon's stuff, really readable. I love, actually, this one here. something that David Serra put together. Great book. It's something we're going to do a review on next week and a bit of a competition to give some of these away. But yeah, I mean, look, there are loads out there. I think the biggest thing is get it done.
Yeah.
You know, the hardest thing is starting, so they say. And for any student out there, particularly if you've gone to a school that doesn't really help you along in this way, you just got to get started. Find something that you can get into, commit to it every day, and really get it done.
And I want to say that 33 book, David Serra's book, I keep hearing from people that their favorite chapter is the one from Daniel and Rochelle Knowles. They love that one.
You know, every person I speak to, they're asking me the chat, right? It's a horrible one to pick in that, but yeah, you're welcome. Great.
In fact, that's why I heard why people were buying it.
Well, I mean, Liam certainly has been going on that. He says, you know, Principle 32 was pretty crazy by him. But I have to admit, hey, look, there's some great ones in there. It's a great read and also super easy. I mean,
yeah, right.
I love this. I love the new idea that we see of people coming through and teaching philosophy, and certainly something that we within the Chiropractic Y are really big about. And is let's make this as accessible and as easy to understand as possible. You know, it doesn't have to be this idea that philosophy is something that you sit on this imaginary rock, put your hand under your chin and philosophize about everything. You know, let's get hold of the basics. Let's start applying them to practice and move on from there.
Absolutely, absolutely. So now you have people doing this all over the world. So who are some people that are doing this and where?
Wow, we've got people particularly in Europe. So we've got some people up in France, some great chiropractors. Anise is up there; she's doing it. We've got Madeline. We've got some people over in Italy. Loads of guys in England. Tom Waller's certainly doing it. He told me he didn't do it today, so shame on you, Tom. Get back to it. Some people, Hong Kong, Australia. It's been great. I mean, it's been amazing. You know, that's the joy I think now of social media. So, and I'm sure there are people out there doing it that haven't, you know, dropped us a message. So I would definitely, people out there, even if people want to jump on it now, get onto our social media, the Chiropractic Y on Facebook and Instagram. Post what you're reading. We've had some great ones. I keep getting some pretty interesting inboxes with people who have picked up some pretty abstract quotes and trying to get into that, which has been awesome. And some other people who are just enjoying going through some of the motivational things in there and really pushing that forward into their daily life.
Mm-hmm. So if you could pick your 3 favorite green books or chiropractic books, what would they be? Your 3 top 3?
I think Stevenson for me would have to be in there number 1. Wow, that is a tough one. No, can I just do a 3? And I don't want to put them 1, 2, 3.
No, they don't have to be in order. They don't have to be order.
I feel like I'm going to
be like the number 1, but like your top 3. If you're going to tell people like, hey, these are the 3 you got to read, what would they be?
Stevenson's without a doubt, the textbook. I mean, the name says it all. Certainly something that we should all be continually reading and studying. I think number 2 in of the 3, Fame and Fortune. I love. Number 3. The Chiropractor's got to be up there. The Bigness of the Fellow Within, I'm a fan of now. I think it changes. I'm going to give you 4 there. The list could go on. Wow. That's a horrible. I kind of love you and hate you for saying that.
Well, you know, I got to tell you, I'll share some of my favorites, okay? And they're not all green, all right? But my favorites are the textbook, okay?
Yep.
The Triune of Life, Reggie's Triune of Life, I love. I think it's...
Probably the easiest book to travel with, right? The small little white one?
Well, yeah, exactly. And here it is. Hold on.
We're going to do a...
Right?
I'll match you, you match me.
Here we go.
Who beat us?
Yeah.
Definitely.
So
and what I love now is they've got it in this dual language version, which is great over here and great for South America to be able to read that straight up in Spanish. I think that's great that it's the translated one.
I have 3 copies right here because 2 things. 1, I buy them and I give them to my team members. Whenever I hire a new team member in my office, the first thing I give them to read is this because it's simple, it's basic, and it's like, all right, I think I can read this as a new, and especially it's only half the book because the other half's Spanish. So like, you know, they can do it. They can digest it within your first month. I want you to read this, so it gives you like a good foundation of conversation. Number two, with our chiropractic philosophy nights, I bought 30 of them and gave them to everybody at the philosophy night last time in December. And so those are my top two. The other one is J.R. Drain's book that Simon put out. Man, I might like that more than Stevenson's. I don't know. That might be sacrilege.
Hey, that book by a lot of I finished in December. Simon's other book on the traveling library. Great read. Gives some great context to some of those early ideas, and hats off to Simon what he's doing over there. But yeah, the Reggie book, definitely. We one of in our course that we're bringing out later in the year, one of our modules is actually all about this. It's huge. I love the way that Reggie broke this down and made it so simple, and some of the old lectures that he has when he's speaking about this are huge.
Yeah, and that final concept that they have, that's like my favorite chiropractic thing that I have ever read. So I'm going to share it in here. If I get to the page without so much trouble here and taking up airtime. Right? So is this, that the last part about health, where he talks about dis-ease, disharmony, or disorder are all one and the same thing. They are but the functional manifestation of a single fact. The triune of life has been violated. The intelligence is unable to express 100% through the matter because the link between them, the vital force, has been interrupted. Unless and until the triune of life is restored to its natural perfection, life must be of necessity be diminished. This is the principle of chiropractic. That last thing. People, what is the principle of chiropractic? That's it. You know, that's the chiropractic principle.
And this is the sort of the level that I think we should all be aiming for. Like, in one page, laid it all out, super easy to read, super comprehensible. And I know Reggie's not everyone's cup of tea, but I'm a big fan. Big fan.
And actually, I think I'm going to take that page, I'm going to retype it and give it out to my patients this week, now that I just thought about that. But like,
boom, well, there we go. That's the challenge for the week.
If you're doing that 31 days, right, I'm certain that you can find content that you can give your practice members. Communication, definitely. Table talk. You can make blogs out of stuff. You can make, emails that would be inspiring just from taking a sentence or a paragraph.
Definitely. I mean, the knowledge in these things are huge. They're huge. The main thing is, it isn't huge when it's just ink on a paper. It's got to be read and projected out.
So I got to ask a question. Why do we do 31 instead of 33?
Well, I wanted to do 33. We made the calendar for 31 months in January, so we thought we'd stick with that.
Oh, got it. January is 31 days. All right, now I understand that. All right, good. Got it. Yeah. Makes sense. Cool.
If you want, I will get on to the guy who set up the calendar, tell him he was wrong. Okay.
All right, cool. All right, so any final things that you want to share with people about reading green books, about your challenge, where they can learn more and connect more with the philosophy programs you're putting together?
Definitely. So first of all, with the program, if there's with the 31-day reading challenge, if people didn't know about it, kind of getting to it late, more than welcome to join. Just come in, like our page on Facebook and Instagram, find the information that we're putting out about there. Also, keep posting this stuff. It's been amazing to open my phone every morning and see the stuff that people are putting under the hashtag Daily Greens. Next to that, we have a great free seminar series coming up, which will be we're opening up registration in a couple of days. So that'll be going up through our Facebook page. So like and follow us on there, and we'll keep putting out as much as we can about the philosophy of chiropractic.
Awesome. Very glad to hear it. So I want to encourage people to follow up, and like people, if it's day 10, they can start, right? They don't have to.
For sure, man. For sure. I'm kind of hoping, and I'm kind of hoping that this tiny little nudge for people kind of makes them realize how beneficial it can be for them.
Right. They don't have to be like, oh, I missed it. I'm day 10, man. I just got to wait till next year.
Exactly. We can all benefit from this daily, and certainly something to spend a bit of time meditating on, really work your way through these ideas and principles and apply them.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being our guest on the Mile High podcast. I'll put the contact information for the Chiropractic Y in the blog post and the link so people can get in touch with you. And remember, you can't anchor to an unanchored mind, so get your mind anchored in tick.
Yes.
Also, at Mile High, every year we have philosophy panels and discussions, so make sure Mile High is on your calendar, August 16th to 19th, just 8 months away. Attendance is going to be record attendance this year. Check it out, www.milehighchiro.org. Our new website is actually about to launch, so this may end up being on the new website. I don't know. It might be one of the first things. We'll see how the timing goes. But again, if you enjoy these episodes, subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher or YouTube, and keep changing lives, spines, lives, and minds with chiropractic. Like our page on Facebook, www.facebook.com/Mile High Chiro.